right, so we have our wellness guide right here. There's EDINA AYENSU, and we're super excited about the conversation we're going to have this morning. We've been talking about BP, blood pressure, each and every time, but some people think, oh, it's a normal thing and it's really not that intense, but we need to get in and get to know the medical term when we talk about high blood pressure, the causes and the effect it has. How are you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
We're getting better. Interesting. We have a lot to talk about, right? BP. We've been hearing that, parents, grandparents saying, oh, now me BP akosho, and I was having me aspirin. There are a lot of medications to this whole thing. But when we talk about high blood pressure, what's the meaning, and medically, what's the term used for that?
Okay, so high blood pressure is hypertension medically. Okay. It is just about the force of pressure against the walls of the heart or walls of the artery. Right. That's just high blood pressure. So if it is high, then there's an opposite side that says low. So there's hypotension, low, and then hypertension. But most of the times, the most common one is the hypertension. That's why we make noise about it. But basically, hypertension is just the force of the pressure against the walls of the heart. So,
we can't talk about high blood pressure and not discuss the causes. Everything on this, there's a cause to why that thing happens. What usually causes high blood pressure?
So it's not as if there is one particular cause of high blood pressure. So we hear our age-old people say, I have blood pressure, But funny enough, it's no longer cut to their age anymore. So before now, we used to add the age to it. Yes, it does count, but of late you have very young people suffering high blood pressure due to certain reasons. So some of the things are lifestyle based, some is genetic because there's a direct history of blood pressure in the family. So grandma has it, grandpa has it, mommy has it, daddy has it, then there's that risk of you having it as well. And then those lifestyle things that we do, I always talk about alcohol, smoking, high sodium diet. When I say high sodium, that's high salt diet. We want a lot of salt in our food. And most of the processed foods we eat have a lot of salt in them. So if you're that kind of person, then it means that you have a high risk of getting high blood pressure. And then when you are obese, you have that weight that is above, when you calculate your BMI, is above 30. So your weight does not match your height. That's basically what your BMI is talking about, yes.
Let's talk about stress.
Yeah.
A lot of stress working from Monday through to Sunday, and I don't know, it becomes very tiring. You really don't know how to go about it. So would you say it's a major factor too?
Yes, and there's something they've been laughing at Africans about. So they add being African as part of one of the risks. Yes.
Wow.
And when you come down, they say man in Africa. Yes.
Okay.
So because of the societal responsibilities placed on men, it adds an extra stress. Then marriage to your wife, and you're supposed to take care of the family and other things, adds an extra stress. And then so being a man in Africa and then being an African has been added to one of. And then the stress. Wow. It's sad, but
that's quite disturbing to listen to.
Yes.
Earlier in your intro, you're talking about the high blood pressure. You have some people who is very low when checking their BP, and I know it's supposed to be managed to a certain level, but looking at the whole thing, when you have high blood pressure, you're at risk of losing your life, and when it goes low to, you're at risk of losing your life. We just want to know the balance in there.
Okay, so with high blood pressure, every country or every continent have how they have calibrated it, I should say. So in Europe and Ghana, I should add Ghana, is so when you have your pressure about 140, that is the systolic. So the top number is written in two numbers, one at the top, which is the systolic, and then the diastolic is one beneath. So the systolic is when your heart is contracting or it's beating. That's the reading. And then the diastolic is the reading between the rests. Yeah, so when the heart rests is the diastolic one. So now when we say it's hypertension or hypertension, it's supposed to be 140 over 90 and above. Yes. So anything below around 129 sorry, 120 to 129 over anything better than 80, that is less than 80, we call it an elevated blood pressure.
Right.
And then if it is normal, then you're going to anything less than 120 over anything less than 80. But if you say anything less than 80, it shouldn't go beyond 50. So if it's going beyond 50, then you're having hypo. And then if it is less than, in some cases, you're getting somebody reading 60 over 50, it's very hypo. You understand? So the normal, there is just elevated. There is stage 1 hypertension, where we have the 130 over 80, and then we have stage 2 hypertension, which is 140. We have people reading 200 over 180 and above, yes.
Right. Let's talk about the diagnosis. Recently, I went to the hospital to have my high blood pressure tested, and I don't really understand the readings on the, I'll say, instrument that is used to check. But I realized that when she first checked, it was 126, and then she was like, "No, let me check again." And then she checked and it was 106. And I asked her why, and she told me that with my age, it shouldn't be reading at 126. So I want to understand, why did we have 2 different diagnoses?
Okay, so some people come to the hospital and then they're like, my blood pressure is 120 over 80, as if it's your age. You see, even your age changes by second and minute. So if you're 20 years today, the next hour, you're 20 years plus 1 hour, if I should say. Yes. So your blood pressure changes with time, with age, with your emotions, with time of day.
Right.
So if I just woke up from bed, a normal, healthy young person, and my blood pressure is reading above 130, above 129, I should relax and check it again, right out of bed. But if it happens that you check your blood pressure, like you did in the hospital, you walked into the hospital, maybe they didn't give you time to relax. They didn't give you time to calm down, and then they take the blood pressure and then it is high. Looking at your age and the time of day, you've not gone through anything stressful throughout the day. And then it happens that we check your blood pressure is almost hitting the margin. We tell you to calm down, relax, and then we take it again. But when you come to the hospital, we ask you to have a seat. Please have a seat, I'll be with you. Then you get offended. I have to go this, I have to do this, I have to do this. But it's part of the care. We want you to relax, so retake your blood pressure.
Interested, because it happened, it didn't even exceed, let's say, 3 minutes. So she checked it and she just did it again. We had 2 results, and I was like, how is this happening? But anyways, let's talk about symptoms. High blood pressure, is it accompanied by any noticeable symptoms?
People can live with high blood pressure for more than 10 to 20 years and not have any symptoms.
Right.
That is why we call it the silent killer. But the very moment you start having symptoms, it means that we are looking at an emergency in the shortest possible time. So some of the signs and symptoms usually that comes with high blood pressure is some people feel dizziness, chest pains, nausea, they get nosebleeds. Yes. They get nosebleeds, and then some people have that tendency of fainting or passing out, yes. And then some people feel muscle pains. There are other situations where the people actually pass out, or they have severe heart conditions and other things. But the most basic ones are the dizziness, chest pains, muscle pains, nosebleeds, the aura, and other things, yeah.
Right. Usually when we hear of hypertension, 2 things come into mind. So I want you to enlighten us more on it. The primary and secondary hypertension. Can you walk us through that? So
primary hypertension is basically lifestyle based.
Right.
And all the things you are doing with your life now, all the things that we will suffer in years to come are things we are doing now. So if I am taking in so much alcohol, high sodium diets, I'm not resting, I'm experimenting all other things, and I'm under stress, and smoking and other things, then I'm exposing myself to primary hypertension. And those ones, usually you have to be on your medications for a very long period of time, if not throughout your whole life. And then the secondary hypertension is as a result of a condition. So there's an underlying condition that is causing the hypertension. So if you're able to manage the underlying condition, then you can manage the blood pressure can come down.
Right.
So for instance, if I have a kidney condition, then it means that the hypertension is as a result of the, because pain is one of the those things that can increase your blood pressure.
Yes.
So if I'm in extreme pain, it increases the blood pressure.
Right.
At the very moment I'm able to control the pain, then the blood pressure can go down. So, but in some cases, you can have both interplaying. So you have already lived a life that is exposing you to the primary one. Then there's a condition that is bringing the secondary hypertension. So it's moving hand in hand. So.
It's moving hand in hand. That's quite interesting. You know, we have some people that have decided to be on a weight gain, say management routine, let's say, trying to add up weight, and so they are trying to gain more weight in various areas in their lives. Are they prone to being having high blood pressure?
So there's what we call the healthy weight. So there are people who are underweight and it is bad for their health. So the dietitian or the nutritionist will put them on some diets so that they're able to gain healthy weight. Yes. But there are some of us who want to gain the weight because I want to look good up here and up here or any other where else, you understand?
Yes.
But if it is not healthy, they are going to increase your risk of getting high blood pressure. And in the end, you're going to rather increase the pressure on your heart, giving way to some conditions that you may suffer at the end of the day. So it should be healthy weight gain and not gaining weight to please any person.
Interesting. Now let's come back home, and how do we monitor our blood pressure everywhere home? Because I know my old man, he doesn't like using. He's been talking about the one that they've been using. He goes to, like, when he goes to the hospital or the pharmacy, the one day, the way the whole thing reacts because of the pressure and everything. So he chooses to use the one he has home and all that to monitor and all that. Yeah. So which one would you think is advisable? The one we use at home, or when we come to the medical center, the ones in there?
So, truth of the matter is there are those hypertension conditions that are funny in a way.
Okay.
So there are those people we describe suffering from white gown syndrome.
Okay.
So when they come to the hospital, their BP is very high. But when they come home and they check their blood pressure, is normal.
Okay.
So it's one type of hypertension. So he gets, I think it's just the anxiety and the whole hospital environment elevating the blood pressure. And with our old folks, like some I have at home, they insist we use the old type of the SPIG. The BP machine is called the SPIG, manometer, the SPIG. So they want that one. They want the old one, the one that you have to pump. Yes. Yeah. So when they come and use the new type, they're like, I don't trust this figure. You get it? True. But you see, even that one has some room for errors.
Okay. Right.
Yes, because I am listening to the heartbeats, the pulse from there with the stethoscope. If there is noise around, I end up picking the noise instead of the beats from here.
Okay.
Yes. So it's also subject to errors. So if you have a BP machine that has been calibrated, a known brand, if you're using it, then you're getting the right results. But the point is, are you doing it well? Because taking a blood pressure means that you should keep your arm at the heart level and then sit upright. If you're lying down, you lie down well, and then we check on the left arm. You understand? There are various machines. Well, to me, there are some that I don't trust. Yes, but you should make sure you're sitting well, and then the cuff is around with the cable just lying on the middle part of your arm like this, and you're relaxed and calm, and you get the accurate results. And there are those people who have the maxed hypertension. So at home, it's not high. At home, it is high, but when they come to the hospital, it is normal. Okay. So it's just the inverse of the other one. And there are some people that it is high everywhere. So there are several types of hypertension. But what happens is that when you come to the hospital and we check and it is high, and you insist it is not like that, we don't diagnose you at the first instance.
Right.
No, we don't diagnose it just the first instance. So in some cases, when we check one and it is very high, we ask you to rest, we do it again, it is high. Then we give you an immediate medication that will control it then. So for example, you walk in and you are getting about 180 or 200 over 100. And it's consistent, so the reading has to be consistent. So if it is the same high results at several counts, then we'll manage it at the time. We ask you to profile it. So you take the test morning and evening. So first thing before you set out of bed, and then last thing before you go to bed. So we have the varying readings, and then you bring it back in 5 to 7 days. Then we are able to make a concerned, informed decision that this person is really hypertensive. Now we take blood tests to confirm if it is not a secondary hypertension. So we do the kidney, the liver, and then we take lipid, your cholesterol test as well. So we want to know if it is not cholesterol, a secondary one, by kidney, by liver, or cholesterol, or any other condition whatsoever. Then we know which medications to put you on.
Interesting.
Okay. I mean, let's even talk about exercising, right? You talk to people who are actually with this whole hypertension thing, you go like they should exercise for their heart rate or their heart beat to, you know, be on a safer side. But we've seen or had instances where people are even training, and in the course of that they fall off and all these things happening. So how do we get to manage, you know, the energy we're putting when we are exercising?
So you're supposed to spread the exercise. You're not going, you can't, this is something that has happened over a period of time. You can't stop it just today. So that means that you don't put yourself on a very strenuous exercise that's going to put extra pressure on your heart. Even you, the healthy one, when you're doing that exercise that is so strenuous, you realize that it's putting, you feel so much stress or pain. Yes. And palpitation is part of one of the signs and symptoms of it. So if you realize that what you're doing is putting so much stress on your heart, you're feeling pain, you slow down. So we usually advise that you should have 150 minutes of exercise spread during the week. Yes, so at least 150 minutes spread during the week, and then you continue. So dancing, skipping, swimming, walking has to be gradual. It doesn't have to be brisk and then at a go kind of thing, so that you don't put stress on
yourself. Okay. Now I want us to, before the child comes, I want us to talk about pregnant women. You know, when they are going to give birth and they're delivering, I know you take their BP and all that. So we have people where maybe they're not doing the cesarean thing, they are doing the normal or natural birth, and at a point we get their BP rising. Would you say it's natural, or it has to do with the stress they are going through during the childbirth? That is why they have, you know, that kind of higher number.
So initially I said that pain, emotions, time of day, stress, it's all part. So at that particular moment, contraction is per every individual. They have how they describe it. Some people say it's painful, some people say it's normal. So during that time when you're going to deliver, you're in your pain, your emotions are high up the roof and everything. So it is there. But when it goes so high, we try to control it whilst you're delivering, so that we don't lose mother or lose baby in there. Yes, we want to save both lives. But some people come out even in SVD or normal births with hypertension. In some cases, when it is controlled, they come back to normal. In some cases, it becomes part of their lives.
Unfortunately.
I mean, we touched on the various types. You have the primary and secondary. And with the primary, now we know that it is lifestyle based. So let's talk about the secondary. I'm sure medication would be one of the ways that you can curb it. So let's talk about medication and how effective it is in treating hypertension.
So some people share medications.
Right. So
in my village, you hear that some will be like, so I'll speak a little Ghana. Anele mami kochofane no mumako. You get it? Because
no, I don't, please try.
So she's like, when this woman, Anele's mother, had hypertension, she took this medication. So when mine started, I went to her and she gave me the strip. So I went to the pharmacy to buy it. But hypertension is not like that. So we look at your symptoms. There are those ones that reduce the quantity of fluid in your system. There are combinations per every individual. It will surprise you that the medications your dad is taking for hypertension may be different from what you're also taking. Mind you, I said that we are going to do some labs to be sure of what we are giving to you and what combination. So there are those ones that are angiotensin inhibitors. There are those ones that are, they reduce the quantity of fluid in your system. So some people say that is because it is reducing the quantity of fluid, so that there's no so much pressure in the blood to pump against there. So there are several medications, but medications work. And you don't stop until you are told to stop. But some people take it after some days and they're like, I'm tired. But this is going to be a lifestyle thing. Mind you, you've been doing this for a long time. And then it has brought you something that's going to be almost a lifetime thing. So if it is secondary, if you're able to manage the underlying condition, then the BP can stop. But if it is primary, it's a lifestyle thing, and you may be on it for a very long time. It doesn't cure, it manages it for you.
It doesn't cure, it manages it. I mean, let's even talk about medication and its side effects. Don't you think that there are ways that medical operators or doctors and nurses can work in a way that maybe you give me this medication for hypertension and possibly give me another to curb the side effects? Because most of them stop this medication because of the side effects. I have stopped taking some drugs because of the side effects. Don't you think that there are some education or some measures that can be taken to help manage the side effects that comes with the medication?
So every medication, for instance, if the doctor writes prescribes paracetamol for you, he tells you that you should take maybe 1 gram for 7 days. After 7 days, don't take it again.
Yes.
It's because of the side effects it may pose to you. That's why it is limited. Now they tell you that you should rest and then taking a lot of fluids, a lot of fruits and vegetables, so it controls or fights against the side effects. When it comes to hypertension, the very moment you realize side effects, you're supposed to report to the doctor. You don't go to the pharmacy, you go to the doctor, and then the doctor will change and then give you those medications that will counteract the side effects. Now, there are some medications that we take that even increases our risk of getting high blood pressure. For example, the oral pills we take, contraceptives that we take. So you don't just walk into the pharmacy and say, I'm buying this, but ensure that you're speaking to the doctor, and then the doctor weighs the pros and cons. Right. It is the doctor that is weighing the pros and cons before you take the medication. Right. And now when you take it and you're feeling uncomfortable with the medication, you go back to the doctor.
Go back to the doctor.
You go back. Maximum 3 days, you go back to the doctor so that you're being taken care of and the medication is corrected so that you don't suffer the side effects of it.
Right. Let's talk about the new normal when it comes to medication. Now, herbal drugs or herbal medicine, they are the new normal. They are all over the place with the adverts and everything. Now, it looks like some even have cure to HIV/AIDS assistance. Yes, when you check some of their services, they have that they cure HIV and everything, making it look like now the orthodox are not really helpful. So the new normal is a herbal medication. Let's talk about that when it comes to high blood pressure. Is it effective? Would you even advise, as a medical practitioner, to use herbal medicine in curbing or managing, let me say, high blood pressure?
I think you have to get me bodyguards. So, you see the herbal medications, most of them are not controlled.
Right.
I won't speak against the potency. Yes, some are effective, especially those that have gone through the drug authority, Food and Drug Authority, and yes. And there are even some in our facilities that we have allowed.
Right.
The local facility that we have allowed. But they are not controlled. The dosage is not controlled. You realize that we can give you a crash dose that will just limit the blood pressure and then you'll be fine in a period of time. But we are giving it to you gentle, like gradually, so that you don't have an effect on any part of your body. Now, this is what is happening with our herbal ones. People take the dose so high and they're like, maybe BP from. They tell you to drink a whole cup of the medication. So the BP comes down, but then you put stress on your kidney and on your liver. So by the time your blood pressure is low, your kidney is destroyed. So, and that will start showing after a few months. Then you will say that you have an issue with your kidney. You go back there again, they'll give you the same medication. And you know the funny thing, when they realize that it is going beyond their strength, they tell you to go to the hospital.
So
there was this case where the person had high sugar, diabetes. So the sugar kept rising, and then you kept promising the family that you're going to do it well.
Yes.
So they were giving the medication to the little boy gradually. Then when they realized that it wasn't working, they told the mother to rush the boy to the hospital. And the sad part is, by the time they reached that agreement and bring the child was almost dying. So they'll say that Oba hospital now, but you started it elsewhere. And there was this other case with breast cancer. They kept the woman in the herbal home. They're giving her all the herbal things, and the thing wasn't working. So when the pain becomes extreme, they tell her to come to the hospital. When we are done, then the family members take the woman back, and they kept doing that. And you know, we can't force. Yes. So I won't speak against the herbal whatever, but if they can control their dosage and give us proof that it's not going to destroy, because we've had several cases where there's a kidney condition because of this, I'm curing that, and now the person comes and we are managing primary and secondary hypertension, and it becomes more of a trouble to us in the system. Yes.
Okay. Now, even talking about the controlling or the medication we're taking with the natural and all that, let's now talk about the orthodox drugs as well. I know there are some medications you take and the discomfort that comes with it, like it's really overwhelming. And people, that's why they try to shy away. They go like, Charlie, I'm not going to take this medication because the uneasiness it brings to me and all that. Some people even take it, they lose appetite. Some people become very restless and they can't even sleep and all that. What would be advice for such people feeling dizzy here and there? I don't know the advice you're going to call out for them.
So with hypertension, for instance, rest is part of the medication.
Okay.
Diet is part of the medication. So if you have taken a medication, you just started, and you're realizing all of these signs, go to the doctor. Let's know if it is the actual side effects of the medication. If it is, he will give you something to counteract it, or tell you how to balance it. But if it is not, he will take you off and give you a combination that is right for you. There is something that happens with hypertension. When you give the men the hypertension medication, they don't take it. No. Ghanaian men don't take hypertension medication. Let me say it here. So this is the reason why. They've heard that it will kill their something.
Oh, you don't say.
Yes, they've heard that it will reduce the potency of their something. So they won't take it at all. But my question is, even if that is it, would you rather die with an active something than live with, yes, you get me, but
yes,
I think something must kill a man. That's what they keep saying.
Well, let's tackle that. Is it true that it may?
So in the extreme case, when your blood pressure is very high and we are trying to save your life, it happens in some cases, in about 60% of the cases. But we give you a medication that will counteract that action.
Right.
And then we tell you to take like melons, take avocado, banana, potassium-rich foods that will counteract that action and rest. So anything that will put stress on your heart, which sex is part, will have to be controlled now. So if you are doing it like 7 times a week, now you have to come down to 3 so that you live. But man wants to continue being man even after age 30. You get it? So then it becomes a problem. But if you agree to the fact that we are controlling stress on your heart so that you live, then you will go take the medication. And you can still live a normal life and still have sex and enjoy it.
Right. Please, our men, listen. We're talking about high blood pressure this morning. Please, we want you alive. So please listen to us. Sometimes I know that you like the sexual pleasure, you enjoy it, but reduce it. Your health is your wealth. So this morning, please take it from us. Yeah, Monte Sokakra.
I think we've even touched on the misconception. That was one thing I wanted to come because you talk to some guys, or let me say, guys actually struggling with this whole hypertension thing. Well, actually, me, I'm not going to take the medication because the thing will go do me. Now, let's talk about age factor, right? We were saying that hereditary is under age and all that, but now you talk to the 20 years, 18 years, they're actually suffering from, and I know it has to do with our lifestyle and everything. What are some of the things that these guys, or let me say the young generation, can actually do to keep the situation or being at high risk to getting hypertension?
So the first of all I'll talk about, not because I'm a Pentecost girl, but because it's good for you, is the alcohol and smoking, regardless what you're smoking. And if you're putting stress on your heart. So we want to make all the money by age 30.
Definitely.
Yes.
So you're stressing. We're putting so much stress on ourselves. But Rome was never built in a day. It's a gradual process. Somebody will make it in 30, you will make it in 40, but eventually you made it. So let's reduce the stress. And then, especially when we are in school, we eat a whole lot of things, a whole lot of saturated fats. The salt is, see, you prepare food for someone who visits you and the person is like, can you give me extra salt?
My
On
dad is
campus.
guilty. My dad.
And it's very bad. We have to cut down on the salt. So this is what salt does. Salt draws water to itself. So when you eat a lot of salt, drink a lot of water, increasing the volume of the blood, increasing pressure against your heart. That's just the simplest. Yes. So if you are cutting it down, as much as it is good to drink water, you're not going to drink so much that will pull it into the blood system, increasing the volume and then increasing the pressure. So our salt diet. And then the processed foods. We have to cut down on those as well. And then exercise. We see people dancing and it's their form of exercise. So let's dance and exercise, let's walk and exercise. The Uber, the boats, please, I'm not spoiling anybody's business, but short distances, let's do the walking, let's do the jogging. And then those things you're saying, I want to gain weight, I want to look any which way.
Kirby, Coca-Cola shape.
What happened to how you look like naturally? Yes. Because every other thing that you add to your body artificially has its own side effects in the long term. So if the boobs are normal size, I think that is what God deemed fit for you. If the hips are normal size, I think that's what God deemed fit for you. Yes, people talk a lot about our weight and other things, but if it is healthy, it's important. Yes.
Okay, so before we wrap it up, let's talk about the people who naturally they pass. You see, you have people that the least you touch them, they are, you know, they are scared, like, hey, what is that?
All over.
All that, yeah. Are these people too at high risk of getting hypertension?
So yeah, they have anxiety issues, and then so it's going to be an underlying effect or cause to the hypertension. So we'll have to work at that.
Okay.
And there's something I have to chip in. We always have a problem when we see somebody going to the psychiatric home or the mental wing of the hospital. Ideally, everybody has to see a mental practitioner because everybody suffers some sort of mental condition whatsoever. So such people, we usually, after the normal medical care, we refer them to the mental health people. They talk. Most of it is just conversation. So we find what it is. We find a way to control it for you. And most people are fine. There are a lot of people who visit the mental. They don't live there. It's those who have the extreme cases, but everybody has to make it a point to at least visit the mental home at least once a year.
Once a year, yes. Yeah. I think later in upcoming shows we'll have a session for just the mental health and talk more about it because it's really underrated here in the country. Yes. So before I wrap up, your last words, and wait, before that, how often should we check our BP? How often?
So JK was saying that Daddy has the machine.
Yeah, he does at home.
So if you have a family history of hypertension, it means that you should start taking good care of yourself. So you already have a 50% risk of it. Okay. So if you come from, example, from where I come from, where everybody has the weight. So yeah, you look at me, it's funny. I'm the only small person in there. It is sad.
You unique and it's nice.
You know, you get them laughing at you.
It's the same for me in my home as well. I'm the smallest and...
Won't you eat? Don't you eat? Why can't you take care of yourself? You're working, you earn your own money, eat. But you see, it's the weight that is bringing the thing. So, for example, with JK or myself, it means that the very moment I learned that I'm at 50% risk, I started taking care of myself. So you take care of yourself too. Then your rest is important. You work on alcohol, salt intake, your saturated fat and all those things. And then your bananas, your potatoes, your avocados are very good. So you make it as part of your diet. Your vegetables as part of your... As for salt, before I was born, I think it's something that is a no-no from where I come from. In most of the homes I go to, so it's something we control. So you control it by yourself too. And live right. Alcohol and smoking, I beg you.
Take it off.
Because you see in some researches, they'll tell you that, you can take a quantity, but per your quantity and alcohol percentage is different from so just don't put yourself at risk at all.
Okay. All right, so how do we get in touch with you if people want to have a one-on-one conversation? I'm on Instagram, Facebook,
Health Verve Connect, and you can reach me on 0244 959642. It's important that each year, at least twice in a year, you get yourself checked. And the silent killer does not give any symptoms until it is becoming a problem. So it is advised that you visit your healthcare facility and then you get yourself screened. So you check your blood pressure, we check your cholesterol, your kidney, your liver, or you give me a call, like I said, on 0244 959642. We can give you private screening in the comfort of your homes, your offices, and any other place. And if you want me to give a talk, like your wellness guide as usual, you can also contact me or send me a message on any of my social media handles. And
we'd like for you to take the number again. Your number.
My number.
Yeah.
0244 95 96 42.
All right. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
you,
As usual, when we are on the well-being segment, it feels, therapeutic, getting answers to all these questions. So we'll see you next week again.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So our viewers, this is where we wrap it up on our well-being segment. We have a lot in store for you on the show today. Let's go for 10. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation.